Woo-hoo! Right, everybody, it's Tuesday night, it's cheese night. I am Charlie Turnbull. We are the Academy of Cheese, and this is the wonderful Avril Malloy. Avril, what a lovely evening to see you across the Irish Sea.
Yes, not too far, really. Only across the pond.
Across the pond, skipping a jump, over the hedge, as they say, a very wet hedge.
Yes.
How are you? What's the weather like?
It's wet and rainy, but quite mild. But that could change tomorrow. So the fields are kind of very damp. But as you would say, there's a fine stretch in the evening. We're getting to about 10 to 5 now in the evening before it gets dark.
That's nice. I was out in my garden and the snowdrops are coming up and stuff. Yeah. You begin to think that the world is re-emerging in some sort of positive way.
Yeah, it really is. And the bulbs are up and the sap is rising. So it's getting a bit better. Everyone's a bit fed up being locked in.
You knew who fed up? Nobody's fed up. We're all really calm. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's a bit of. But anyway, if we just stay home and eat lots of cheese, we'll be fine.
Yes, we will. We'll go. I'm on one of my annual diets because that's exactly what I do too much of. But this is professional. I can eat cheese. That's part of my job. So, where are you, Avril? Are you in Dublin? Were you somewhere else?
I'm in Dublin. This is my cheese. So.
You've got 3 cheese envy.
I have.
So, we tucked into ours a little bit, I'm afraid, prematurely on Saturday night, somewhat late, to be honest. And so I've got Cashel Blue, I've got the Clean, the Goat's Gouda, and that's it. So what have you got as well?
I have Cashel Blue, which is cow's milk cheese. It's actually on the level 2 Academy of Cheese course. And I have your Clean Goat Gouda, which is a really unusual one. Beautiful soft cheese from pliable Gouda from Galway. But I also, as a treat, found Mossfield for you, which is an organic cheese made in Tipperary, and it's available as well, but all around Ireland.
So you did, but you're back, and everyone saw you. So they got that it was Mossfield, which is an organic cheese. Now, we're going to do a little bit. We're going to eat the cheese, obviously, and we'll talk a little bit about cheese. But why don't you just begin by telling us sort of the potted history of cheese in Ireland?
Okay, well, like most of Europe, there's evidence of cheese making in Ireland like 12 to 14,000 years ago through archaeological digs. But it died out for the same reasons as it did in the UK. That, for start, the land, people didn't have as much land, and then as time went on, butter became more popular because they would be paid more, they'd earn more money for making butter. However, fast forward to the 1980s, late 70s, early 80s, and a group of women, I must say, began to make, sort of resurged the Irish farmhouse cheese movement. Jeffa Gill, Veronica Steele, and they were very, very good friends. Veronica Steele, unfortunately, passed away a number of years ago, but she made the famous Belines, which was, since the 80s, was featured on the Dorchester cheese board, famous hotel in London. And she was very friendly with Jeffa Gill. So they decided through the love of land or the love of a man, they ended up in County Cork.
Yeah, I was about to say, this is all down in Cork, isn't it? You've given me a map to look at, so I'm going to bring that on and we'll point out where you're talking about. Where's my magic button? Here we go. Okay, so Cork, as everybody who knows anything about anything, unlike a bottle of wine, is down at the bottom. It's the toe of the island.
It's kind of the centre of the south coast there, where that cow is, the sort of where there's an inlet there above the cow.
Okay.
It's the south coast, and we probably need a bigger Cork because there's so much cheese making going on down there. But generally, and Kerry and Clare and Tipperary and Galway, they're just, what's great, Charlie, is that Board BIA, our Irish Food Export Board, have put this map together. And also COSH, which is Gaelic for cheese. They are the Irish Cheesemakers Association. They also have a map on their website, which is irishcheese.ie, and the links to both of those are in the chat if anyone wants them. But it gives you a really positive look that Ireland is really healthy, has a fabulous array of farmhouse cheese. We have some of the best milk in the world, because of our climate. We've got the Gulf Stream down to the west, which gives us lots of rain, unfortunately, but that's great for grass. And our animals are outside more than 300 days a year. So that's really, really good. And hygiene and inspection standards are very, very high. Farmers have lots of, generational experience. So there's a lot going for Ireland as a cheese making country. And we've fabulous grass, which of course makes great cheese.
Well, that's it. I mean, you call the Emerald Isle, the Green Isle, whatever it is. I mean, that goes to the heart of it. It's good grass. I mean,
fabulous grass,
Britain, the other island in this part of the world, we were pretty late to the cheese party too, compared to, the Mediterraneans and all that kind of thing. But like you, but possibly for different reasons, it's really flowered in the last 20 to 30 years, 40 years kind of thing.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. And now we also have, you can get any type of cheese, whether it's, a brie style, hard, cloth bound, washed rind, but also any type of milk. We have a couple of mozzarella makers now in Cork.
A little brown buffalo down here.
Buffalo to make mozzarella. So Macroom and Toonsbridge, and it's just superb, the variety of cheeses we have. And I suppose the three that we have tonight are iconics in our world, but thankfully there's actually a lot of iconic cheese now in Ireland that's exported all over the world, between Australia, Canada, the US, and Europe.
So let's start with Malloy. Tell me the story. Let's eat.
The story of Colleen is this beautiful white. I would call this an introductory goat's cheese. It's very mild and creamy. Colleen is made by a fabulously talented cheesemaker called Marion Roosevelt in Galway. And Marion came to Ireland in the early 2000s and has as a fully qualified trained cheesemaker. Not only is she responsible for making Colleen goat, but she was also involved in making other Irish cheeses initially, like Cois na Tíre, which is a fabulous pecorino style fudge-like cheese. And also, I found out today, talking to the makers of Mossfield, that they used to provide the milk, and she made their cheese also. So she's probably one of the most experienced cheesemakers we have in Ireland, and we have many. And won gold at the 2019 World Cheese Awards.
Very nice.
Yeah, so Marion is super talented lady. I've been to her farm when I worked with Sheridan's. And she hand makes all her cheese. And Marion's very tall, so she leans in over the vat to make all these cheeses back-breaking work.
So I don't want to ask the age of this lady, Marion, because that would be rude. But I've got this mental image of a tall, wise person leaning over and cuddling her curds into the outcome she wants.
Tall, wise, and very young-looking lady.
Very young. Absolutely.
So really knowledgeable and super down to earth to deal with. And I love Colleen goat because it's kind of falls between two stools in terms of the Academy make classification, because it's quite soft and pliable. And it's got a double layer of coating on it, just to stop the molds invading the rind.
It's got a pretty coating though. It looks nice. It's got a sort of natural kind of feel to it.
Like a golden colour. But when you taste it is just, she actually washes the curd to reduce the acidity. So it's
that's it. This is Gouda, isn't it? In style, which means should be not should be. You can do what you like, but that implies that it's a washed curd cheese. And you've got what I think you're tasting with this, which is astonishingly good. It's almost like a double sweetness. You've got the sweetness of the goat's milk, which is that velvety dairy but light kind of marbly, I always think of. But also we've got vaguely caramelly sweetness that's going in there as well, which would have come from the washed curd kind of thing. And it makes it gives a great depth, really, without being sweet. I mean, it is sweet, but it's not sweet.
And it also melts beautifully. so it's great in salads or as toasties. And when I worked as a cheesemonger, if people were looking for a cheese to introduce a non-goat cheese lover, someone who wasn't
I can see this would totally hit the spot. Yeah.
Introduce them to this, and without fail, everybody took it, and no matter who I offered it to, they said,
There is not one smidgen of farmyard in this, is there? There's not. There's none of the billy coat, that sort of goatee, the shag, you know, the billy coat. It is pure and elegant is quite the right word. It's just spanking clean. It's just really, really clean flavour.
It's just really smooth and there's a good length on it as well. But it doesn't have that, even on the nose, the smell of it, it doesn't have that really strong goatee flavour.
It does. I mean, obviously the colour, that sort of bright whiteness, gives it away as being a goat, but nothing else does. No, if it was slightly darker, you would not call it a goat's cheese.
No, absolutely not. So it is very unusual. I've never seen. Now I've tasted, you know, the extra mature farmhouse or goat gouda, but which would be quite hard and crystallized. But this is just pliable and soft. She also makes
not without depth and richness. It's not like a young Gouda is, that's sort of salty fat. You know, we've got real flavour here.
Yeah. And she also makes cow's cheese. She makes Emmental style cheese, also called Kilmora.
A full Alpine hard cooked cheese with a high scald point.
Makes an Emmental style cheese called Kilmora. This is it here. And that's absolutely divine as well. Really, really nice.
That is a hard cheese and a lot of milk to commit. So going back to the one I've got here. Sorry, I'm dropping bits of cheese. What age have we got here, Avril?
She ages them from sort of 6 weeks to 2 months. That's more up to the 2 months, I would say. Just knowing
it tastes so much older than 2 months.
It does, absolutely.
I mean, if that was a cow's milk cheese, you would expect a minimum 6 to get this texture and this complexity.
Yeah, she's a very talented lady.
I don't think even a talented lady could rush a cheese. I mean, nothing can rush a cheese.
Yeah, that's 2 months old. So
wow.
It's on the level 2 Academy of Cheese book of 75 cheeses.
Really
okay.
I think that's delicious.
Good.
I've had quite a few cheeses recently that have been the best examples of that cheese that I've ever had. This is without any question the best Colleen I've had. And I would bizarrely, we were doing some tasting on some Lincolnshire poacher yesterday. That was the best cheese I've ever had. And I wonder whether, while lockdown has been rude to cheese makers, it might have been good to cheese, if you see what I mean.
I would agree. Although saying that, you know, in preparation for tonight, I spoke to a few cheesemakers and they're doing really, really well. They were cleaned out, a lot of them, before Christmas, and particularly the goat and the sheep cheese makers. They're quite sorry. The goat and sheep cheeses are quite difficult to get at the moment because they're seasonal. So a lot of the animals are having a break at the moment, as are Mossfields cows. But they're coming up to Christmas, they were all sold out, bare shelves, and have a quiet January now. I think people were stockpiling before Christmas. Also, there was a huge surge, probably the same in the UK, huge surge on online orders. People just went bananas with cheese. And which is great news, because this time last year, they lost 70% of their business, most of them, when, you know, food service closed down, particularly the soft cheese makers. You can't hold on to that cheese.
Yeah, the hard cheese makers can afford to either stop making because they've still got stock by drawing down on their sellers, or they can continue to make and just stock up and solve the problem later today. But no, the freshies hard. No, very hard, very hard.
I'm not out of the woods yet. There's still a long way to go, you know, and we can't see the finish line of this COVID thing just yet. So we just need to buy more, Charlie, and buy more of your local cheese, and, you know, support our local, wherever you're local.
That's right. So we're reaching out to you people watching. Please go buy more cheese. Eat a lot more cheese. And when you've had enough cheese, eat more cheese. That will make you a good person and you'll go to heaven. Right. On that front, let's get grubby. Let's talk about cashels.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, that's what I've done.
This is Cashel Blue, probably one of our most famous cheeses.
I'm going to come off the fence here, and I will be shot for it, but it is comfortably my favourite Irish cheese.
And you're only just saying that now, aren't you?
I am. I know. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. This Killeen, though, however, is coming up on the outside, but I really love Cashel Blue. I think it just appeals to everybody. You know, it's great.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I had a chat with Sarah Furno, who is the second generation making. She's Louis Grubb's daughter, Jane and Louis Grubb's daughter. They're a gorgeous family. Visited their farm. My first day working as a cheesemonger was a visit to their farm, and it was just magical. When they designed, or when they invented Cashel Blue, they deliberately wanted to keep it like the mild blue. Ireland doesn't have a strong tradition of liking really strong blues in those days. So they were trying to develop a cheese that would be, accessible to everybody. And also in those days, it was quite unusual to have, if you can see this, it's quite pliable and soft.
It's very soft. Yeah. It's very much that Roquefort Auvergne tradition of cheese making.
Formed down there. Yeah.
And it's not just Ireland that didn't have a history of this. Britain did not have a history of this either. It's very much an adopted technique.
Yeah. And actually, Louis Grubb and the Erringtons became very, very friendly. And talked about cheese. And they introduced Cashel Blue as a sort of a soft alternative to maybe Stilton, and not as strong. And it has grown and grown. It's mild, it's creamy. There's a good distribution of blue in it. And they've also developed Crozier Blue, which is the sheep's milk version of this, which is divine also. And they make a hard Gouda as well, called Shepherd's Store, but that's not available until the summer. But
what I like about this cheese is when a location in terroir adopts a recipe, like the Grubbs adopted a blue cheese, it takes time to bring that local element. They start off with a recipe and they're sort of trying to recreate, I don't know, Auvergne or something, but you can feel the Irishness. It's got butter. It's screaming big grass. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they use milk from their own herd, and it's still made on the farm. They have a beautiful farmhouse, a beautiful cheese making facility in the field on the farm, and they package it and sell it to all over the world, including the States, Australia, Canada, and a lot into the UK as well. So and it doesn't change. I've never had a piece of Cashel that wasn't like this.
Well, I was told a story when I went to visit them, Mr. Grubb, as I called him. Was talking about originally they matured the cheeses in their cellar, not in their purpose-built building. And apparently the Mr. Roquefort, he started getting into the wooden beams that was holding his house up. And the council came in and tried to condemn the building because it was basically being eaten alive by cheese, which I love. That's proper commitment. What's happening to my cheese? That's better than a sci-fi movie. Oh no, the cheese is eating my house. I think it's great. I hope it's true. He told me himself, so it must be true.
Oh, absolutely, it would be true. But I love that. I think that's really, really good. But his daughter Sarah Furno is now, and her husband are now looking after the cheese. But Sarah told me that they started to mature it a bit more slowly, changing slightly. They just feel that gives it a little bit more depth. Have you lost me?
I did briefly, but you're back.
I'm back. Anyway, they've started to mature it for a little bit longer, a little bit more slowly. Most places that sell it at the moment, I would check that it's at least 12 weeks old.
Oh, look at it. Hang on. We're in the house here. It's true about the mold in the cellars.
Hi, Sarah. I'm delighted she joined us.
Thank you, Sarah, for I do like I have a few stories which aren't quite as true as that, so I'm very pleased I'm putting that in the yes, it's true box. I do think we should make a movie. There's got to be a movie in there for a housemate eating cookies or children's book or something. Yeah, no, I think you can taste it. I think you can taste that extra age.
Mm.
And it's got that slightly that the mold is becoming quite piquant, and there's more of a fermentation in the body of the cheese.
Yeah. I think also for a blue cheese, like it's got that natural rind. That beautiful landscape on there. Look at the colouring on that. Isn't that beautiful?
Gosh, I feel the need to show mine now. Here we go.
Yeah. But it's just got that natural mold and a really good blue distribution. And it's spectacular. Absolutely gorgeous.
I'd like to bring attention to that, because what people forget about blue is that the blue, yes, it brings flavor. Yes, that blue is a certain flavor, but the action of the Penicillium rock 40 is to break down the curd itself. And so the right time means the curd tastes better. But here we're seeing, I don't know if you can see that. Can we see that? Can you see that? Come on, you can focus. Can you focus? Come on, focus, Mr. Camera. Right, can we see that just under the rind there's almost like additional breakdown?
Yes.
Where we're getting more action from the Penicillium rock 40 that's settling on the outside, that's getting an almost brie-like effect just under the skin. That is
like a mold ripened cheese.
Yeah, like a mold ripened cheese.
Yeah. So
very
delicious.
exciting.
And also, just for interest's sake, I have a piece of their closure glue here, which is the sheep milk version, and it's divine as well. And these lines here, for people who may not realize, these lines are where the cheese is pierced during curing, because the Penicillium rock 40 is added at the make stage when the cheese is in the milk is in the vat, but it is activated until it has oxygen to feed on. So that's why blue cheeses are pierced.
We're absolutely right. Now that magical moment when you open up mold and it starts going bloom, 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 and it's really easy to see sometimes. I doubt you'd see it on this cheese, but with some cheese like Stilton or Dorset Blue Vinnies, the blue can really subside in the cheese and it almost goes back to being white. You can cut it open and the blue returns. It's like a flower garden just coming up. But with a cheese like Cashel Blue, where the structure of the curd is a lot more loose, you have permanent air holes inside, little cavities, which form little mold blankets or mold wallpaper around the outside of the cavity that gives the blue. I'm going to find one here.
I'm drinking this. You could drink it with anything, but I'm drinking this with the beer because I think a lot of Irish cheeses go with beer. We don't have an indigenous wine in this case. So
yeah, I'd argue the same as across the water in Britain. So you've got everyone says, oh, but there's a wine industry in the UK since the Romans. I go, yes, but the amount of wine compared to the amount of beer is like that. Okay, let's be honest. There's a couple of posh winemakers down the bottom back in 1850 and all that, and an awful lot of people drinking beer, and that's why they taste so good together.
But also, I think what goes together or grows together goes together. And if you have a look and see, like we've lots of apples and pears that grow naturally in Ireland, and that goes very well, whether it's, a perry or a cider, or even a sparkling, some beautiful sparkling apple juices. Or I have a still apple juice from Wexford here.
Downing, I'm probably sure you've got good apple juices, but down in Cork, there's amazing apple juices, sparkling apples, ciders, and probably it's further up as well. I'm afraid I don't know my apple juices in Ireland.
And the craft beer industry has just exploded here as well in the last 5 years, 10 years, 5 years particularly.
That's just teenagers who didn't grow up. Let's be honest. Right, go on. You've got another cheese. I can't join it. You've got to tell its story.
Okay. This is Mossfield, and it's a Gouda as well. And it's it's organic milk, and it's made by Rafe Haslam in Burr in County Offaly, and it's it's actually Tipperary, but anyway, I spoke to Rafe today, and he was delighted that we had his cheese. I brought his cheese along tonight. They started out as a dairy farm, and they brought their milk to Marion Roosevelt in Killeen to make their cheese. But then after a while, they decided, well, just milk wasn't really enough to keep them going. So they decided to make make their own cheese. So they converted to organic in 2000. And they have a very unusual breed of cow called the Rotbunt, which is
you're gonna have to say that word again.
it's called a Rotbunt. It's
Rotbunt.
Rotbundt.
Like a German bunt. Okay.
Yeah, and it was originally a cow that came from Cork, but the monks brought it to Germany, and then they crossbred it, and they now Ralph has a herd of those cows, but also he's recently bought some Montbéliards as well.
Okay.
So he's from Comté and all those lovely cheeses.
It does sound like the beginning of a good joke. There was a cow from Cork.
Yes.
Who didn't end up on a fork. Anybody want to complete the limerick? We are welcoming. Okay. So we've got Rotbunt and we've got some Montbéliard. So we're getting some high quality milk here.
Really high quality milk. And actually there's another cheese called Beau Rua, which is red cow in Gaelic. And that's doing very well in Ireland at the moment. And their entire herd is Montbéliard.
Oh, wow.
So it's become a really, popular breed in Ireland. And so because it's kind of like a cheddar consistency, quite soft and pliable, but it breaks and cracks.
Okay, I can see that. It's got a sort of a white character, not a white yellow, but with white edges, almost like it's a sort of sheep's milk cheese, kind of got an aged sheep.
Yeah, it's quite pale for a cow's milk cheese. Rafe is in his 70s and he still works the farm. But he has now got to the stage where he has employed cheesemakers. But his son is also very into organic farming and organic food generally. So hopefully there's another generation to keep it going.
Take it on.
And again, a lovely family story, family farm. The cheese is made on the farm with all their own milk. He doesn't use milk from any other farm. They also make yogurt and sell yogurt and milk as well. So they've quite a few products down there, and they have a cumin version as well. Again, all organic. So this is the cumin one.
I think cumin's interesting because cumin with Gouda is an old 600 years old recipe or whatever it is. But for me, it's one of those cheeses where it isn't really very nice until you've got the cheese to the right age. And then the dryness of the curd puts the cumin in context. I think it can. I really think it's an interesting one because people think it's just flavor cheese, and the cheese then sort of takes the back seat. But with Gouda with cumin, you really need to get the cheese right for the cumin.
And he's got a really good balance. This is 10 months old. This particular one.
Yeah, I think you need that. Yeah.
He makes 30 tons of it a year, Charlie. So that's no insignificant amount.
No, not if you're 70. It's not. So.
But it's soft, it's buttery. There's a little bit of a piquancy towards the end of it. And it melts in your mouth. I would put that on any cheese board that I'd have in the evening.
I would like to taste it. I'll see if I can get hold of some because it's not one I know.
Well, I know it's in Paxton's, and I think it's it's definitely in Paxton's, but I'm not sure where else. I had trouble finding it, to be honest, at the moment. Again, cows are resting.
Yeah, but it's a difficult world out there. Now I've got Sarah's come back. I want to raise this point, which I think is really interesting because she said rinds are so important to flavor. A number of years ago, we waxed a cashel. Honestly, half the flavor was lost, and that really goes to the point that there's so much more to a cheese than bunging a bit of blue and hope it works, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think the rind contributes to the flavor. If you didn't have all the lovely bacterial growth, beneficial bacterial growth on the rind. And as you say, there's a little bit of breakdown underneath the rind on yours. Well, all the flavor then from the chemical reactions that are going on between the rind and the paste, that's bound to add to the flavor.
Yeah. I think also if you were to wax it, you'd stop the breathing in some way. And
that's it, and on our Academy of Cheese courses, we're always telling people don't wrap blues in airtight packaging because it kills them. So I think, this is a really good example. Actually, the rind, although it's not quite the same, but the colouring on the rind reminds me of Forme d'Ambert. It's quite similar in the hues.
Right, we've got our first entrant. I do think we should send this out onto Twitter or something. But Alison and I are going for our first limerick here. There was a cow from Cork that didn't end up on a fork. She looked in the dairy, which made her so wary because it was filled with quark. Which is the first time. Alison, brilliant. You definitely get a star for that. But I'd like to see more limericks that begin with "There was a cow from Cork" and see where we can get on. Avril, this is amazing. I've got a couple of sort of sidey questions about Ireland, moving slightly away from farmhouse cheeses. 1/3 of the cheddar consumed in the UK comes from the Republic of Ireland. Is that right?
Yes. We have a huge cheddar industry. Traditionally, it was block cheddar, again, mainly from Cork. But some beautiful examples of that coming out now with different flavour profiles, depending on the per batch. One being Carberry's, their fabulous cheesemaker in Cork. And so it's a bit concerning. Well, where will that still continue now or not? But likewise, we buy a lot of British cheese. British here. West Ham is really popular.
I mean, cheddar's such an interesting one because at the end of the day, it's a properly international cheese. It doesn't have that same terroir issue, especially with the block cheese. Where has Avril gone? Has she got a runaway piece of cheese? Maybe there's cheese rolling going in Ireland right now. Okay. I have no idea where Avril has gone. So anyway, it's time we wrapped up. So thank you, Avril. I'll say thank you probably when she returns. But that's Irish cheese. There's so much more to talk about. Hopefully we can get Avril to come back maybe in a few months to tell more about Irish cheese. Why don't we just do that? And we'll tell more about Irish cheese. We'll discuss some of the other obscure wonderfuls, because one of the things Ireland's so very good at is washed rind cheeses, which I really like, that Doris Moline thing, which we can touch on as well. So we'll get Avril back. She disappeared off stage left. Right. I also have to say that we have lots of people offering level 1 courses and level 2 courses, which you can do online, or you can book in with me and have me in a kind of very voluminous kind of way, talking lots of cheese online, a kind of what do you call it? A webinar kind of structure. And in general, the Academy is doing lots of Zoom meetings that are about cheese and things like that. But it looks like we will be back at some point this year to eat cheeses in restaurants, in delis, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm very excited about that. What else to say? See you in a couple of weeks' time. Oh, we're moving to every 2 weeks. Did I tell you that? Every 2 weeks. Meanwhile, I will have finished my diet by then. I'll be back eating cheese. See you then. All the best, and stay wise and cheese eating happy. Oh,
I'm back.
You're back.
Sorry, power cut. Would you believe?
A power cut. Okay. Well, I thought I'd just wrapped up and was about to end the broadcast, but it's rude. So we're reopening to say goodbye to you. So thank you very much, Avril, for coming on. And I was saying, if you could come back in a few months and do some more Irish cheese introductions, a tour of the Emerald Isle by Curd, that would be fantastic.
I'd absolutely love to. Thanks a million, Charlie, and thanks to the Academy. Hi, Tracy and Alice. Thanks a million, guys. And if anyone's interested in finding more Irish cheeses, the 2 links that you have in the chat there will help them. irishcheese.ie or boardbia.ie.
Or hopefully your local good cheesemonger or farm shop.
Local good cheesemonger, of course. Okay. Lovely to see you.
See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.